Well, we're in First John chapter 2. It's kind of interesting because a whole lot of folks are saying some things that they're just not true. And so you'll see in First John 1:6 that we talked about, if we say, and then on it goes a number of times, if we say, and of course, if we say. Now in First John chapter 2, you have the phrase, he that saith, it's in verse number 4, verse number 6, and verse number 9. Somewhere we got to learn that what a man says is doesn't really count. And so what John begins to say here in First John chapter 2 and verse number 4, he that saith, I know him. And by the way, the Greek word know there is that epignosko, which just means simply that a person who really claims to personally know the Lord, yet he does not keep his commandments, that fellow doesn't really know the Lord, nor is he accepted or approved of the Lord. So it's important that somehow we get the idea what a fellow says doesn't mean a whole lot sometimes. So in verse 4, he that saith, I know him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar. Boy, I tell you what, John's a straight shooter, isn't he? The fellow that's claiming to know the Lord, and of course, if you go back, he's walking in darkness and he's not keeping the commandments. He's so far out in left field, it's a rather presumptuous claim, isn't it? Now you get down to verse number 6, he that saith he abideth in him, and again, we're talking about someone who claims that he has a dwelling place or abiding, a close personal relationship with him, ought to walk as he has walked. And then look at verse number 9. He that saith he is in the light. Again, that goes back to First John 1, doesn't it? And hateth his brother. Boy, there's a tough one for some folks, isn't there? Here's a fellow you see that claims to know the Lord, and yet he doesn't keep his commandments. And I won't get too far into that, but this very idea of obedience and keeping God's commandments. And by the way, did you notice that commandment is in the New Testament? A lot of folks think that the commandments is just way back there in the Old Testament. But remember, Jesus, rather in the Hebrew letter, in the 5th chapter, the Bible says in verse number 8, he is the author of eternal salvation unto those that obey him. Don't belittle the idea of obedience. Obedience certainly is required. It's an obedience of faith, and faith that's expressed in obedience. So the fellow, says a lot and doesn't mean a lot because he's really walking contrary to God. He's in darkness instead of light. And then there's that real tough one for some folks. He that hateth his brother is certainly not walking in the light. And he that hateth his brother can't claim that he has any real relationship with the Lord. So those are some deep thoughts today, aren't they? Well, it's something to think about, isn't it? See you tomorrow.